All right, welcome you guys. Today is our next episode of CEO Downloads, where we are talking all about some insights, ideas, thoughts, things that have come up for the week, um, and just sharing where we're at and also giving you guys some things to think about and take into your week next week. So today we've got some cool themes to chat about. So Brian, you want to talk about what the themes are going to be?
Yes, welcome everyone. We have four themes this week that have come up. We've been paying attention and just taking note. The first
Staying awake.
theme, yeah, the first theme is keeping promises. As you know, I shared something in the beginning of the week about keeping promises to ourselves. So we'll riff on that a little bit. The second one is who is the voice in your head?
Mhm.
With the inner chatter. The third one is evidence that you're still winning.
Mm.
And the fourth one is being decisive.
Now that you're saying them, I mean, we always kind of talk about what we're going to talk about before we get on.
Yeah,
But as you're saying them, I feel like I have a bunch of things to say. So,
awesome.
want to start with number one?
Yeah, so number one, keeping promises. My promise of the week to myself was to continue devoting some time to movement and taking care of my body through movement every single day. So I'm due for today to get that done. Although I did a little walk, but I'm not going to count that. I want to do a little workout today. But it's been great. It's been once once you make up your mind about doing it and then you commit to it and then I publicly share it, then I'm all in, right? So that's how I operate. That's how I understand to play on my own psychology with it. And it's been great. I've been feeling a bit more empowered with my aging body. And I played a couple basketball games with my son and didn't break myself. So progress is being made there. So I'm happy with how that's been going so far this week. How about you?
Yeah, awesome. You've been doing a great job with just getting that in, even in like these little tiny, pockets of time. So that's really awesome to see. For me, it was about writing. So one of the big things that has helped me, and this is actually part of kind of number two, which is who's the voice in your head. But one of the things that has really helped me over the years is writing in my affirmation journal. And so that was the big thing for me this week. I've been sort of inconsistent lately. So this week was pretty good. I would say I missed just one day, so 90%, there. Um, and I'm just gonna take it for what it is. I'm not gonna get mad at myself about it. I'm not gonna flip out about it. I'm not gonna melt down about it. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go, okay, you didn't do it that one day. Let's move on. Let's get back on track. So that's feeling pretty good too.
Yeah, I think keeping in mind that the goal is not perfection, right? And the perfectionist inside us, which might bring us into the voice in your head,
Yeah,
is what makes us feel wrong for missing one of those events or missing one
right.
of those opportunities when the idea is around creating some intention, some decisiveness, and also creating this situation where you can anticipate. Because I found when with movement, with this particular promise I'm keeping to myself, it forces me to anticipate in the week and in the day when that's going to happen. So
Yeah,
coming into the day going, this is fucking happening today, makes me commit to like, okay, so when is it going to happen?
yeah,
Because the clock is ticking,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
I tell you too sometimes too, like in the day, like I find if your morning's kind of blocked up with appointments or whatever, I always say the soonest possible opportunity
right.
is when it's going to happen. Because if the
Yeah,
more the day goes on, the more there's a chance that things will interfere and cause shit in your game, right? So
absolutely.
it just creates a completely different sort of strategic mindset around what you're up to and creating your habits and like you said, staying awake.
Yeah, love that. And this can work with the business stuff too, but I'll leave that.
100%. Yeah, for sure. Okay, second theme is who is the voice in your head?
Hmm.
So what comes up for you here as far as what we can share as an insight in this area?
Yeah. I think what I think about is how, years ago before I started doing any actual mindset work, how I didn't really understand what mindset work was. And even if, like, I know for some people that voice in their head is loud and it's there all the time and it's every day and it's all of that stuff. For me, it's not really like that. For me, it's more buried, it's more underneath it all. Like, I have to really try to bring that stuff up, but I know that it affects me. So I think the the writing piece, when I didn't understand what I was doing or what I was trying to do and trying to reprogram my brain and all that stuff, writing affirmations didn't work per se, right? But I think over the years, as I have started to understand what changing your identity and changing your mindset and all that stuff actually means and what's actually happening, writing affirmations has become such a powerful tool for me. And it has helped me change my mind about things. And so sometimes it has taken, talking to somebody else or being with somebody else who can really help me dig up what those limiting beliefs are and all of that stuff. But when I've been able to find the affirmation, the statement that was going to be the new empowering statement rather than the limiting belief, the writing of it has really helped that actually change. And so, for anybody who is looking to make some changes in their mindset, who wants to level up, who wants to, you know, become someone different, whether that's in your health goals, your relationship goals, your business goals, whatever it is, that writing affirmations really, when you do it consistently, really is such a powerful tool to use.
Yeah. As I was listening to you, I was thinking, what was I going to share in this area? And lately, I find we've been saying this over and over again, like so much happens every week right now,
Yeah.
for us because of a lot of things we're working on and everything. And I was listening to a podcast earlier this week that I shared with you that um, he said that we learn through our mother how to love ourselves, and we learn through the father how to love or
Yeah.
connect with others.
Yeah.
And you can change out the words like divine feminine versus divine masculine, right? Um, and I remember now I was becoming aware in this moment that my both my parents taught me how to connect and with others.
Mm.
There wasn't as strong a voice and I don't want to take shots at my mom here or anything. It's just it is what it is, right? Like
Yeah.
um she loved me in so many other ways, right? But there wasn't a voice constantly feeding me or brainwashing me to love myself or to boost myself up. So the alternate voice to that were the bullies in my life,
Mm.
right? And I told you about the first day of school at this new town where it
Yeah.
was show and tell, and I brought this model car of the General Lee that I was so proud of. I put my heart and soul into it. It wasn't amazingly or brilliantly done. I was in grade one, right? So, but this kid just snatched it from my hand and held it up and had everyone laugh at it, right?
Mm.
And it was my first opportunity where I'm sharing something that's from my heart, from my soul, and the first experience is somebody trashes it, like literally.
Yeah.
Like I was like, well, that was like, at that age, like a big like fuck you to the world. Like I'm not gonna be vulnerable anymore. I'm not gonna put myself out there anymore, right? Then I
Yeah.
became shy, introverted, all this. Like it happens quick, like at that age, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the inner voice, like there's a default voice, and it's not usually a nice one. Right? So that's what I'm like
Yeah.
just sharing vulnerably what I'm working on is the default. I'm what I've become really aware of in the staying awake and becoming the CEO is when is that voice most showing up, which is right out of bed when I'm tired in the afternoon and maybe at some points in the evening, but more so it's the very first right out of bed. So
Yeah.
I've created the routines, the affirmations that I literally read out before I even get out of bed.
Yeah.
I read these things, right?
Yeah.
And it's helping. It's really making a difference because it's reminding me that no, that voice does not have control over you. It was
Yeah.
just something that programmed when you were a child, and it's not serving you anymore.
Yeah.
So let's just move on and don't look into the darkness. Keep your eyes on the light, and just keep moving through it. So,
Yeah.
to share with anyone listening right now is the question is who is the voice that is maybe talking you down? Right?
Yeah.
That's the more important thing. Obviously, if there's a great voice boosting you up and empowering you, there isn't much to talk about there. There's just
Yeah.
experience and greatness coming from that. But it's the other voice. Who
Yeah.
is talking to? Is it you? Is it a version of you? Is it some jerk that pissed you off in the schoolyard? Is it, mom, dad? Is it anyone that in your past that has put that program in your mind
Yeah.
that during your weakest times in the day sneaks in and goes, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah. There's so many things I want to say here, and I don't want to go on a crazy tangent on this because
Yeah,
this could be its own topic, like in
yeah.
and of itself. But I do want to say that one, when you think about who that voice is, ask yourself like who that person is and whose story is it that you
Yeah.
are telling yourself. Because when you realize it's not your story, and even if it is, you can get rid of that. And
Yeah.
you can do that through writing your affirmations. And the other thing is, if you can, not only should you write those affirmations, but I would actually say them out loud.
Oh yeah.
Say it like in a mirror to yourself, or if you have someone that you feel comfortable to share it with, say it to them. That is powerful AF.
Hmm.
And saying it out loud and feeling it and getting into it. And, you know, if you have a place where you can be alone and you can say it loudly, like the feeling of that is just it's really powerful if you can get yourself somewhere where you're alone or you're with someone who you trust that you can say it in front of. That's another level. So writing it, but also out loud.
Yeah, because we're also taught too that you not only have to say the words or read the words or whatever, but you have to feel them, right? And when you say it out loud, I've had moments where I've said it to you, and I get
Yeah.
nervous just before I share it with you still because it's an unfamiliar space for me,
Yeah.
right? But when you say it and you say it with conviction, that shows that you feel that in your body, and you need to program that feeling into your body.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the group here have felt those moments where they're in flow and they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
The more we can create and reprogram and rehearse that happening again and again and again, create the muscle, create the automation of that, you know,
Yeah.
the easier it's going to get to continue moving into this new space that we're headed as becoming the CEO. So yeah, it is a hot topic. There's a lot going on there, and it probably will come up again. All right, so the next one is evidence that you are still winning. So the
Mm.
reason for this one coming up was I think earlier in the week we were talking about some of our key indicators, our metrics and stuff like that, and reminding ourselves about all the many things that we should be. I used to talk to clients in personal training about this, where they're like only looking at the scale weight,
Mm.
but they're forgetting that they put 10% on their deadlift. They're running faster. They shave 2 minutes off their rowing time. They've like all these different metrics that indicate that they're getting fitter and
Yeah.
healthier. They forget about because they look at the scale and it dismisses everything else, right?
Yeah.
We could be like this in our businesses, especially with maybe our financial outcomes,
Yes.
not realizing that there's other metrics and key indicators that we're still winning. For example, the activity that we're doing, we booked
Yep.
and scheduled that event that we were terrified to do and never imagined we would do. We actually delivered on it, and there's all these different things that we're causing ourselves to do that are massive wins that need to
Hmm.
be celebrated and repeated over time. These behaviors will result in the scale weight going down, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is that we're looking to impact. So
Yeah.
this was like a sort of a moment for us to reset because we just came out of the first quarter and and celebrate what we've done as we move into the rest of the year. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like we need to recognize that there is a cadence to the year, and not every single month needs to be a growth month, right? You obviously there's a certain place we want to get to so that we make sure we have reoccurring revenue. That's why, I always talk about doing the pay for what you get revenue model where people actually pay monthly so you can build up the reoccurring so that if you don't gain any clients, it's not the end of the world, right? You have the reoccurring revenue coming in that is making you the money that you need, and hopefully more than that. And we have to just recognize there is a cadence, right? When we look at the year, not every month is a go, go, go month. Like if you're in the summer months, July, August, you are, we're not going to stop working, and we're not taking our foot off the gas, and we're not falling asleep. But what we are doing is being really intentional about what we're working on in the business, because those are quieter months. It's a perfect time to work on new systems, to really like work on the business, to hire someone new, to train them and onboard them, right? Like we have to look at what's going on in the months and realize that it's not going to be go, go, go revenue every single month. There is a cadence to the year.
mhm,
And so when we have these other metrics that we can use, like I created this brand new system, I hired someone, I created this new offer. Like right now, we're about to launch the workshop, 30-day workshop program that starts on May the 5th. And we're putting together all of the pieces. So, working on that project, which is the project for this month, getting the pieces done in that project is a huge win,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
Because now, once that project is created, I never need to create it again. I
mhm,
might need to tweak it or change it or adjust it, but I don't need to do all the groundwork again.
yeah, yeah.
Right? So I think it's really important to recognize those other things that are going on that aren't just about the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an old mindset, maybe maybe an employee mindset, whatever it is. There's an old mindset that it has to be linear. And it's a
Mhm.
non-linear
We all
process.
know it isn't.
It's
It
not
is
a
not.
linear process.
No.
The only way it's lit, and when we both worked in corporate too, they even expected us to deliver in a linear fashion, right? Like
Yeah.
I remember being
Often.
given quotas for personal training sales, and like this is like constantly going up, and like we're going to the summer, and they're still asking for more. Like it's just
Yeah.
like where does it end, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not a linear process. Some parts of your business as you build it out and it's working and functioning and it's automated and things are generating, you might
Yeah.
see a little bit more of a linear, but
Yeah.
it's more of a trending
Yeah.
situation up and down like the
Yeah.
markets, right? And you'll have
This.
moments, yeah, and you'll have moments too. I don't know if we talked about this before, but you have moments where your focus of your business moves to this new branch of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you might not be giving as much attention to the thing that's actually working already or growing,
Yeah.
or being a big part of like your financial revenue.
Yeah.
And you might notice your revenue might change or something might change in that other space because you're focusing somewhere else right now,
Yeah.
right? It's not
100%.
wrong. It's just you got to be aware of like where your attention is going because that's where the
Yes.
fire is usually going to start building, right? So
Yes.
something to consider, especially for making changes or upgrades as well, that it's a process. You still have to learn it while you're doing it too,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
definitely amazing lesson to learn there for sure.
For sure. No
Um,
doubt.
yeah, so the last one is being decisive. So this again, each theme kind of just goes nicely into the next one. So what do you have to share about being decisive?
Yeah, so I actually learned this from Laura Jackson, who does the mindset coaching inside of our Time Freedom Club program. And she taught me that when you are in a scenario where you need to make a decision, that if nothing else, you need to set a deadline for making the decision. And I know for sure in my life, personally and professionally, that being in indecision is, at least for me, the worst place to be. Because when you are unsure of what you're doing, you can't move. So, sometimes what happens is, when you are in a transition, when you're trying to figure something out, you're trying to do something new, like things like that, sometimes you make decisions and then you need to tweak them or adjust them, that's okay, right? But we need to keep making them. And usually, when I make a decision, there's a few things I like to do. One is I like to think about what's the worst case scenario if I make this decision? Am I okay with that? That's a big one, right? I go, okay, if I make this decision and all of this stuff happens, am I good with it? Right. And this is like I'm pulling all these things from different mentors, but Jill Stanton, who's also someone that I really look to, says instead of saying like what if blah 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 happens, all the negative stuff, she says, so what if all that stuff happens? Right. And so when I'm making a decision, I'm always thinking about, so what if all of it happens? Who cares? What's the worst thing that's gonna happen to me? Revenue's gonna drop. Okay, I'll be able to make more money, right? Whatever it is. So I think that's part of it. And I think the other part is when you make those decisions that you sit with it. So
Yeah.
make the decision, sit with it for a day or two or a week and feel into it. And instead of giving the immediate answer to someone or to yourself or whatever, go, okay, this is what the decision is. And then give yourself some space so that you can come back and go, yeah, I'm good with that. Or something's still off about it. What else do I need to do?
Yeah, there's a couple things that are coming up for me regarding this topic is one time I made a pretty major decision a few years back. It was a financial decision, and I knew it was the right decision to make, but how I made the decision, how I went about um, executing on that wasn't um, optimal for
Yeah.
me, and um, it caused me to sit down in my journal and go, when I make a major decision next time, what is my criteria?
Yeah.
And I set up like a checklist of things that I have to do before I make a decision on something pretty major, right? So that's one thing is have maybe a criteria, a set of values or a set of terms of which you make decisions, which will make it easier to say yes or no too, especially in a negotiating situation, right?
What are some of the examples of that? Like what are some of the criteria that you had?
Um, one is like one of them would be like the keys to seek some sort of counsel, seek some
Yeah.
sort of like guidance, advice, and it could be from a professional, but also from a trusted friend or family member or somebody, a colleague, to just go back and forth on something and have them in the men's work we call it inspection, where step into the circle and be inspected on your decision. So they're fighting for you and they're going to ask you hard questions to make sure you've done your due diligence.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one. That's probably a major one, but also just like checking in on your values. Does this align with not only my values, but the direction I want to go?
Yeah.
Is it like, am I just patching a hole or is this like a long term? For me, it's like am I solving a problem so I don't have to deal with
Yeah.
this again,
I love that. That's the
right?
making decisions from where you want to be and not where you are.
Exactly. So
Love.
the other thing is outside of the criteria is you're gonna in a prior to making the decision or making the move, you're gonna feel resistance. If it's a major enough thing,
Yeah.
like we're talking about making decisions. So if you're even thinking about whether to make a decision or not, there's probably some resistance around eventually making the decision, right?
Yeah.
So you got to lean into too what the trigger is, what is causing you to feel afraid, right? And sometimes it's just the unknown, even though you've done all the homework.
Hmm.
There's just the unknown part of it because you're behaving again, becoming the CEO in our businesses when we're growing and scaling and doing all the stuff we want to do. We're going to behave and do things differently
Yeah.
that's gonna create resistance inside of us and it's gonna be
Yeah.
scary and I just like
Absolutely.
treat it like a fucking roller coaster because people who are obsessed with rides, it's the hill and the thing at the top,
Remember
which
the
is the
drop.
worst. That's the worst part. The fall is actually like holy shit, and then all of a sudden the fun stuff happens and then
Yeah.
you pull in and you're usually smiling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that resistance is just part of the game, right? So be aware that like expect that, right? The other thing is too, go back to the roller coaster. The feeling as you pull in after. Remember, there's a feeling at the end of this.
Yeah.
right? That we're seeking, we're pursuing, we're wanting to experience in our life, in our businesses, in our personal life, or whatever. So what is the feeling we want to have after? And you can see that feeling, that reward, that whatever it is. Because I noticed literally this week this happened for us. Like we
Yeah.
made another decision on something, and I
Yeah.
was like really we had all the information. Everything was right
Yeah.
there. And it was just up to me to make the final decision
Yeah.
and take the action. And and we did it. And then shortly after that, I I was talking to you after and it's like I feel like a big release.
Yeah.
I feel like more of I'm scared, but there's more excitement
Yeah.
and there's a release. I feel lighter. Something feels
Yeah.
lighter.
Yeah.
Right? So be aware of that because it's all part of the normal process, right? And again, we talked about this as well too, is like what is the worst case scenario? Like
Yeah.
we don't want to go there and live in that space 24/7,
Yeah.
but it's important to probably go to the worst as an exercise, go into the worst case scenario
Yeah.
and go from a problem solving point of view with that worst case scenario. What's his name? Grant Cardone said
Yeah.
this in a podcast I listened to a few years ago. He said, when times are tough, I bring myself back to ground zero. I go, say tomorrow I lost everything. I lost everything, my jet, my whatever, all these
Yeah.
different things. He goes, I go back to ground zero and I start and I go, you have 30 days, 60 days, whatever to turn this shit around, right? And then he goes right into problem solving mode. It's like an exercise he puts himself through, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we do have to go back to that worst case scenario and go, okay, what would we do in that situation? And then you're kind of like you're familiar with it. It's not as scary anymore. You have some problems that you would solve. You have some strategies around it. Then you can just put it to rest and then get back to work
Yeah.
with what it is that you're doing, right? It's also
Yeah.
remembering that the option is not quitting is not the option. So like you can play the game a little bit with the worst case scenario, and then you just start going back to, yeah, I guess this is why we're doing this, right? So
Yes.
um yeah, it's a pretty the decisive part like it's funny because like what people like about CEOs and leaders and stuff is they're freaking decisive like they're the ones that are
Yeah.
making the game playing decisions, right? Michael
Success loves
Jordan.
speed, right? Like we have to just get on it, like make the
Yeah,
decision, move through it, figure it out. Like we can't linger there. We can't wait there because things need to happen.
yeah, yeah. And
This
there's
is
people
ridiculous.
there's potentially there's stakeholders waiting, which
Yeah.
is usually family members and kids and stuff like
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for you to be successful so you can continue to share and grow with the people you love in this experience, right? So
Absolutely. And this is like the stuff, this is the being in the weeds, right? This is the stressed out, overwhelmed, not sure what to do, not sure where to go. This is why we have the laser focus calls. Like if you guys are in this space where you're needing to make a decision, you're not sure where to focus, you're not sure what to do next, book a laser focus call. Let's figure it out so you can make that decision and keep moving forward.
awesome. So anything else to share before we close out?
I think that's it. I think that's a lot of stuff for today.
Yeah, I think after this chat, there's already some stuff coming up for me right now for my like Monday morning vibe thing that I'm gonna share.
Okay.
So it's coming up. I shared a little bit of it in my private group already, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's gonna come up this week for us. And keep at it, guys. See you guys in the next session, and share some comments on what's come up for you in this session today.
Yeah, I would love to hear all of that stuff. Have a great rest of your weekend, you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right.